Thank you so much for, taking time out for this. So before we get started, if you could just tell me a little bit about yourself, your professional background, more around that.
Um, Professionally, I'm Shajata, of course, and I think it's one of the things that come by default when you're asked something to talk about yourself, ever since you've gotten into interviews and things like that. Even though an engineer by profession, I believe what I would quantify or categorize myself as would be a critical thinker, or someone who's extremely, and um, someone who likes taking or reaching a solution in different ways as opposed to the traditional or the norm. So, and plus I'm extremely driven and independent. So once I was in college back in Manipal during my engineering career, and I realized that maybe traditional engineering or software or 9 to 5 job is not particularly what excites me at that point of time. And knowing that my skills were, communication or, different aspects of branding or strategy and things like that. And that's something that I knew from the very beginning. Tried to divert my career in that aspect as well. So even though I was in Infosys, unlike most people who get into your software development side, I chose to get into the training aspect of it. And to everybody's surprise, I actually did not go ahead with the communication skills aspect, which was their separate vertical. Rather, I went ahead with their business intelligence unit in the education and research department, because again, as I said, marketing strategies was something that really excited me, and communication was again something, and business intelligence was what drove me to it, was data analytics and understanding, figuring out. So that was my step one into the world of business. Education excited me, decided to move to the education capital of the country, which was Dehradun. Coincidentally, my marriage was also based out of there. So started working for the biggest group of universities in Dehradun. Then I believe professionally, I reached, I was extremely, I was in a momentum in a way that started taking on new challenges, new opportunities, initiated the first digital marketing cell in a group of universities, initiated the international chapters, got into a lot of process orientations, headed the call center. So a lot of opportunities that came my way, and I actually did quite well in that regard. However, I think after a certain point came to realize that, your gut can only take you so far. So a formal, and plus I was in a tier 3 city, and had confined myself, I believe, to the education domain for over 10 years now. So decided it was time to switch things up a bit. And that's where the idea of B school came into picture. Now, a lot of times people did ask me as to why did I choose a B school in India as opposed to, I could have gone abroad as well. And that's where a lot of people, especially when they appear for their GMATs, they are aiming for. I, on the other hand, was that, yes, I agree that a B school abroad would, of course, I'm not going to say it would have been a better opportunity, better exposure, maybe better in terms of career growth. But given my personal situation, and given the fact that I have to balance my life and my daughter, who insists on being on every video call with me, apparently. But because I have to, kind of balance my life, I had to balance my career priorities and prerogatives as well. So a B school in India is what I immediately looked at, because that would be something that I would not be breaking the family unit as such. My daughter can still be in her house with her father and me, but just because I've taken a decision to do something, it's not necessarily that my entire family will uproot as well.
Right.
B school started from there, GMAT started from there, shortlisted the universities that I thought most aligned with my kind of ideologies. I'm not a very traditional person, so traditional learning is not what attracted me. ISB was, of course, an obvious choice, the PGP program. IMB, IMC too, but not the traditional 2-year program, because I've heard a lot about that. And I thought maybe given my kind of a background, the executive program would be more up my alley.
Yeah.
And prepared for the GMATs, got and gave like, so I think from the very beginning, what in you had asked me earlier that, I started my preparations much in advance. So I think that was the driving force, because I had my target in mind. I knew that 2021 is when I want to get into a B school. Corona or no corona, actually, luckily, it did not impact my decision in that way. And it went pretty much along the lines where started with the GMAT preps in early 2019, had a job along the lines as well. I was the head of operations in another group of schools. Worked towards the GMAT, got a good enough, I think got a decent score. I wouldn't say I got the best, but yeah, for someone who was out of academics for a good 9 years, I'd say got a decent score. Went through the application process with the Crack Verbal team. Applied for the 3 campuses, got selected, got shortlisted for interviews in all 3, got selected in 2 for the programs that I applied for, and I'm on sabbatical right now. So yeah, and looking forward to a B school.
Right. So, Shreetat, I remember, when I spoke to you first, there were a lot of things on your mind, right? So, I remember you said that you were focusing on the marketing aspect. You were also managing operations, for this institute. You were doing so many things. And at the same time, there's also, you had, taken a break or something before that too. So there were a lot of questions that you had in your mind, right? So how did you, plan this out so well? And, and also 10 years experience is also slightly on the higher side when you're looking at applying to these schools, right? Average 4 to 5 years.
Yes, the average age, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you handle that? And, what was the clarity that you believe that you got throughout this process?
I essentially, because I was working in a tier 3 city in the pretty much unorthodox corporate sector, which is the private sector right now, which doesn't have too many processes defined or streamlined in that way, had the privilege of actually experiencing or working in different aspects of any business. So be it marketing, operations, sales, communication, branding, all of that, events. Started realizing where my forte lay. So new strategy, branding, and strategy, branding, and marketing is exactly what I would like to focus on and even see myself. I would have defined myself as a mid-level professional, and as a high-level professional, I would have liked to see myself the strategy or the marketing domain. Having realized that, it actually got easier. So that, okay, having realized that, having now, understood that, okay, given my family constraints, I might not be able to pursue a degree abroad. And these are the 3 schools or the 3 programs that you're looking at. So the first thing that started off is with the idea that I need to get a visa, I need to get an MBA degree. And identifying why I needed to get the MBA degree, what was my I've heard a lot of people come across saying, oh, I need an MBA degree because I want to earn more money. But I believe that would be the wrong way of looking at trying to get any kind of a degree, actually, for that matter. Understand, for me, it was more like understanding, okay, so where do I lack professionally? I realized I lacked a professional network that was as strong as I would have liked it to be. Realized I lacked a peer group which had exposure to different verticals as opposed to only one particular business sector vertical. Once I identified the gaps, then it became that, oh, okay, so these are the schools that will cater to my needs. Once you identify the schools, then it becomes just a series of researching. It becomes understanding how, people actually do not give enough value to the importance of research, but research is very, very crucial when you are going in for any kind of a higher education anywhere. So understand the kind of an ethos that the school promotes, understand the kind of people who go there, communicate with the alumni over there. Like, it's very easy these days. You know, you just, someone or the other you'll come across in your life who's been in an IIM or an ISB or something.
Right.
Reach out to them. Never be scared of asking questions, even if you come across a complete idiot. Like, you know, this is something that I believe I learned in school. No question is a stupid question. So ask away.
Right.
Research, ask, prepare yourself. There will be a lot of setbacks. You might have deadlines set for yourself, but you know, like even during my GMAT preparations, I had thought, oh, in my mock tests, I'll start getting 700s. So did not get that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, okay, I should give up my effort, or I should, like, a lot of people do that as well. They rethink the entire schedule. They start questioning themselves, second guessing their instincts.
Right.
And I believe that is something that we should avoid. Like, you know, if you've decided something, there will be setbacks along the way, but
yes,
just take a day or two off, step back, take some time for yourself, rejuvenate. Don't even look at the books, don't even look at the prep material, don't even look at your application for a week maybe, but come back to it.
Right.
So yeah, I believe it is more along the lines of just being driven, just having a focus. And I wouldn't say very careful planning. People make it sound like it's like, you know, Excel calendars and scheduling and stuff like that. And I would genuinely say it's not. It's actually very easy. It's just that we have been, unfortunately, in our country, competitive exams themselves and interviews themselves have such a negative connotation that by default we are psyched about it in a very negative manner.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that difficult. And honestly, with the right mentorship and the right kind of guidance, and you get the right kind of guidance only by asking.
Right.
So, for example, Crack Verbal gave me a very good mentor. But if I did not reach out to the mentor, or if I did not, you know, stay in touch, and if I did not make the if I did not take it up as a prerogative that, okay, this is my decision and I have to do it in that manner, I don't think any, like, you know, I could have signed up anybody. Like, you know, people have this thing that, oh, independent consultants, matlab, you know, private one-on-one time, better chances of acing an interview. And trust me, I think the best thing about Crack Verbal and my mentor and the guidance that I got was that pretty much we understood each other's gaps, and it was like, okay, like whatever was needed, it was like a gap filling. And that is what, like, you guys as someone as a prep does. It's not that you're gonna spoon feed, unlike, you know, like how Allen's or a lot of other people do. It's not like that. I'm sorry for, should be avoiding doing that, but yeah.
No, because also we work with professionals, right? So with professionals, you have to, you know, there is no spoon feeding required, you know, when it comes to mostly.
No, but unfortunately, I've come across professionals also who will be like, oh, like, you know, oh, like they have no idea about the deadlines, and they'll be like, oh, I'm depending upon them. And then there will be a lot of people who will diss a particular organization or an entity, saying that, oh, they were supposed to do this for me and they did not do this for me. But at the end of the day, it is your prerogative. It is, at the end of the day, a prep that I have taken on. And the idea of a prep is essentially bridging the gaps that I might have in my profile to enable me to get to the profile that I'm looking at.
Exactly. Interesting that you mentioned, right? What I really liked about what you mentioned about your GMAT prep was that, you know, there are days when you feel low, there are days when you feel that, you know, it is difficult, but you still have to move on because there are setbacks throughout the process, right? As someone who's, like you mentioned, has not been studying or with academics for so long, how much time did you actually spend on your GMAT prep?
It was the weekends that I would spend, like, okay, so I have a daughter as well, and currently she's 5 years old. Otherwise, during my prep, she was 3.5, 4. Coming from a nuclear family, honestly, I did not spend too much time on GMAT preps. Again, that is where my research went in. New English is my forte. New verbal is not something that I have to be extremely terrified of. Knew that quant is something that I'll have to focus on a little bit. So started like, so okay, again, how did I do my GMAT preps? Heard everybody out, listened to everybody, but at the end of the day, created a program or a profile that, or a a preparatory style that suited my style of learning.
Yeah.
So someone came across and said, oh, you should take these tests or that tests and these tests and that tests. Read up 1,000 of forum, articles, downloaded materials, bought books, but do what you think is best suited according to your needs.
Right.
So again, it was not like, I have to study for 2 hours per day. No, there were days when I couldn't.
11 hours.
Like, I had a terrible, I guess, day at work, and I just, there are days when you don't feel like doing it, or even if you're sitting with it, nothing goes through.
Right.
So there were days I did not pick it up. There were days when I felt so motivated, I would study for 8 hours at a go, and I feel like, wow, I've done it all. There were days after a mock test when I would have scored really, I still remember my first mock test, it was 540 I scored. I was like, this is such a disaster, and I have to rethink my entire evaluation. And so yeah, the GMAT prep is not bad. Just don't do prep and then exams and tests and then do prep again. You have to have like a balance, like, keep on checking yourself, have self checks, like how we appraise ourselves, how our managers are supposed to do that for ourselves and sit on our heads and bark.
Yeah.
I think we can do that for ourselves. We can sit on our own heads and bark and say that, okay, you know what, I'm going to study for 10 days and then take a test. So even if I'm not studying for 10 days, I'm going to take a test after that because it's test day.
Right. Right. Interesting.
So do that.
Right. So, when you went through the application process, right, what do you think is more like something you thought this is how it was supposed to be, but it was more like an eye opener that, wow, I didn't know that it was supposed to be like this. Was there anything in that process that you felt this way?
The eye opener for me, and honestly, something that I genuinely have learned from the entire Crack Verbal experience as well, was despite of me being a professional, and I'm sure in this, not a short, but an interview, you must have figured out that I'm not someone who's very concise, and I like to speak, and I'm very like, just keep on talking. I realized that at times too much verbiage is not really required. You need to put across your point and in a very succinct manner. Mm-hmm. That was an eye opener for me. I used to be like, like my essay, for instance. I think the first time I wrote the essay, and I remember the mentor telling me, saying, just forget about word limits, just write, just put down the structure, put down something over there. And I remember it took me 1,000 words to actually just put it across, more than 1,000. And it was like, now if I look back at it, I'll be like, okay, why did I write all of that? It has absolutely no relevance with my professional. Okay, I agree, it might have enabled my personal growth or professional growth in that point of time. But I didn't think it was very relevant from an admissions committee point of view, or I did not think it was very relevant for someone who will be going through a million applications a day and be like, okay, why should I shortlist this candidate? So yeah, that's something that was an eye-opener. And I think that's something that I forever would be gratified to the Crack Verbal team for, because that is a perspective that I really did lack. Like, I might have had discipline, I might have had self-motivation, but prepping for an interview, or not even prepping for an interview, once Crack Verbal team told me that, okay, this is what the AdCom committee actually is looking for, or this is, come on, like at the end of the day, it's a business school and they're looking at professionals, and they've heard bullshit essentially throughout, so you can't bullshit them too much. True. So that's how it went.
How was the interview process? Like, did you have a panel, and how did that go for you?
The interview was, I actually loved all the interview experience. I did not like the IMB interview experience, and now I had my misgivings about it. I'm sure they also might have had my misgivings about it, which is why I was not selected in that. But otherwise, I genuinely loved meeting the panel. I remember the IMC panel, I still like, if I had not been selected in ISB, I was so in love with the professor who took my interview in IMC. I was like, I have to go and meet you, sir. Like, it was it was very smooth. It was easy, like people, as I said, that it's not nerve-wracking. At the end of the day, they're just seeing why every business school has their objective for hiring, or rather accepting a profile into the business program.
Yes.
So that was my thing. And I was like, like I honestly, even I did have the nerves. I wouldn't say I wasn't anxious about it, but then I was absolutely, it was just fun. And I think the ISB panel was much more younger. IMC panel was a little bit more traditional. The ISB, in fact, had the youngest panel. IMB had the mid-range and ISB had the oldest. But I believe I had fun in each and every. It was a different experience. The ISB was a different experience. IMB was a different experience. IMC was a different experience. And I loved all the three experiences, honestly.
Right. So, once you get an admit, everything that you plan to is just fallen into place.
Yeah.
And a lot of hard work, managing home, managing your daughter, managing life, managing work, everything together. How does it make you feel at this stage? And, if you have to, give some words of wisdom to, students who are preparing right now or planning this, or even women, who are with experience managing this and losing hope on the GMAT score, what do you think would be your words of wisdom for them?
Okay, so preparing for GMATs, I will have two trains of thought. One would be for those people who are just fresh out of college, 2 years, 3 years of work experience, preparing for their GMATs. Like, I would just simply say, you know what, like, don't take it that seriously. This is not the IITs. This is not the CATs. This is not like, it's pure. You cannot hack the GMAT algorithm. You can try to read it. You can try to do a lot of things about it. But the more you try to get into it, don't try to do it. Just understand your strengths, your weaknesses, work on your strengths, enhance your weaknesses, work on them. People normally don't work on their strengths, but you need to work on your strengths too.
Right.
So work on your strengths, work on your weaknesses, have a proper schedule, and just stick to the schedule. Don't get demotivated. Especially at the younger ages, it's like, I can give it later, and I'll do this and I'll do that. Like, it's just stick to it. If you've made the decision and if you're serious about the decision, then stick to the decision and you'll definitely be able to go ahead. For women, normally, especially women who are getting into, now this is where I see myself in that category, women or older professionals, working professionals, who at times are very skeptical about taking a change, because we are comfortable maybe in our life spaces, and it's always a risk, giving up your career for a year and then coming back into it, because you don't know how the market's going to be after that and things like that. Working women, I will normally say, working professionals, it's not that difficult. Like, it seems like it's like, I was lucky enough that I had my family's support, and my mother, honestly, like, even though she's a homemaker, but she's been someone who's been the driving force behind me throughout and told me the importance of enhancing myself as a professional. But yeah, like, it's not like, speak to your family, things will sort out. It's not that difficult. You don't have to go to INSEAD. You don't have to go to NSU. You can achieve your dreams as well by staying in India. There are really good schools. There are just schools that are embracing the GMAT format now, because they've understood that business school is not about, like, it's unlike it's not about rote learning anymore. It's a very different ball game altogether. Right. So you have those schools of thought in India as well. You have those schools of thought. People at times take a step back because of finances, family, things work out. Like, there are thousands of educational institutions out there who will be there to fund you. No collaterals at times as well. So that is not something that you should be worried about at times. You should not be having young children at home. I know that sounds like a huge challenge, especially their schooling and education. But trust me, life goes on. So, and at times the career transition is something you wouldn't want to have any regrets in life. So that would be my advice to people who are looking at taking a step. Just don't have any regrets in life. Shouldn't be in your 40s and mid 50s and saying that, oh, I could have had the opportunity of studying in ISB or IMB and I didn't take it. So why not take it?
Right.
And let's see. If you fail, you fail, but at least you tried.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it's so inspiring words. Thank you so much, Srijata, for this. And I think it makes a lot of sense too, because we are all used to being in our comfort zone. And, it's just about taking that one step to look at what you really want to do and go ahead and, focus on it and get what you want, right? So awesome. Thank you so much, Srijata. I'm sure you'll do awesome during your MBA and after your MBA too.
Well, that's the hope, but otherwise I'd be pretty much not in a very good position. But yes, that is the hope, that I'll be doing very well in ISB and